Big Friday night news. Maxx Crosby is a Raven, and the package is ginormous. A 2026 first-round pick, a 2027 first-round pick. Hayden, this is, I believe, nearly identical to the Micah Parsons deal. We had heard rumors, mentions that this is what the Las Vegas Raiders had been holding out for. Well, they got it for the soon-to-be 29-year-old top-end pass rusher and going into the same division as Myles Garrett.
It's going to be a lot of fun. This is a great pairing. This was one that was not talked about, aside from me calling this one out. But I really like this pairing because the Ravens have really whiffed on edge rushers. And if you can't draft them, go trade all your draft picks away. Just looking at it, since Lamar Jackson was drafted in 2018, top 100 picks on the defensive line. Jalen Ferguson, he's done pretty much nothing. Odafe Owe finally did something, but on the Chargers. And then David Ojabo has done pretty much nothing. Adisa Isaac has done pretty much nothing. And then Mike Green, a dart throw in the second round from last year. So if you can't draft it, go trade for a veteran like this.
And we kind of got a hint, a little shot from Lamar Jackson earlier in the day with a Denzel Washington gif. Turns out Lamar knew what was up. Straight direct line to Eric DeCosta. Also, per Diana Rossini, both the Baltimore Ravens and the Dallas Cowboys had been working on this one for days. They kept communication with the Raiders, and the Jacksonville Jaguars were another team trying to put together a big trade package to try to get this done. So it really was a three-team race, and I'm sure maybe the Ravens had to go from a second rounder next year and turn it into a first rounder in 2027. Which, by the way, Hayden, that 2026, and we'll talk about the Raiders into this at the end, is the 14th overall pick. So now trying to restart your franchise with a new head coach and a new quarterback, you also have a middle of a first round pick at number 14 overall. But let's talk about what this brings to the Ravens, because like you said, arguably the elder Kyle Van Noy has been like their best edge rusher for the last 2 years, their most consistent edge rusher. My mind instantly jumped to, hopefully Justin Madubuike comes back from this neck injury 90% of what he used to be, because if that is the case, having an interior presence along with an edge presence and even putting them on the same side and overloading that side of the field, it could be such a dynamic duo for this Ravens defense. We already know that they have playmakers in the back half on top of him.
He's just relentless. He eats a bunch of snaps. Like, it's always like first or second every single year in snaps. And I looked back the last 4 years, he has the most TFLs in football. It's him and Myles Garrett have 90, and then it's a huge drop down to everybody else. So we think of Maxx Crosby, the edge rushing guy that's going to rack up a bunch of sacks, which is always a candidate for 10 plus sacks. But he's also really effective in the ground game because his pursuit and his hustle is off the charts. And that's why I thought he was a good culture fit for the Ravens, who weirdly enough, the last couple of years just don't seem like they have like that total dog in them. And obviously Maxx Crosby kind of being the gel on that side of the ball is going to be able to bring everybody. So yeah, I totally agree. If Madubuike can come back, plus Maxx Crosby, we already know the back seven guys with Kyle Hamilton and the boys are going to be pretty solid up there. They were really just missing that get off the field defensive lineman this last year because they didn't have Madubuike. You get two guys now. I think they should be the best team in the AFC on paper as we go into the offseason.
So currently, Maxx Crosby is around edge 6 in terms of average money per year at $35.5 million. I'm sure they're going to turn up and maybe go towards the Aiden Hutchinson, Micah Parsons territory, which is $45 and $46.5 million per year in their own stratosphere among this edge group. By the way, coming out of Eastern Michigan, believe it was the Senior Bowl where Maxx Crosby went to and performed at a high level. This is the guy who was always in my mind because I think I had him ranked as like nearly a top 50 prospect coming into the league that year because of his freak athleticism. I mean, 99th percentile when they did the 60-yard shuttle back in the day. Talk about to compete. Maxx Crosby did the 60-yard shuttle at the NFL Combine, 95th percentile 20-yard shuttle, 93rd percentile 3-cone, 81st percentile broad jump, 79th vertical, and then 78th percentile 40. I mean, what a stud. And then you translate that while learning how to play football at the NFL level. I mean, he definitely has always looked like a Raider in a uniform, but Hayden, when he puts on that purple, when he puts on that black uniform for the Ravens too, he just like perfectly fits a vintage Baltimore Raven and what they look like on the field.
Yeah, totally agree. And hopefully there's something to fight for in January, because Maxx Crosby has never had to fight for anything that of any consequence. So obviously the Ravens are going to once again have super high expectations. Like I said, they are the betting favorite right now to reach the Super Bowl in the AFC. Look around the AFC right now. We have some Bills questions, and they have obviously fired their coaching staff. Mahomes coming off the ACL. We'll see about the Broncos and everybody else, and the Patriots, if they can kind of repeat what they did last year. But if Lamar Jackson's healthy, they get Justin Madubuike back, this is going to be one of these teams. It's going to be hard to overlook, and they have a lot of star talent. They're like top 5 players on this roster, is as good as any top 5 players across the whole league.
And if you look at their odds depth chart, okay, everyone is blue except for Alohu Gilman as like really the only starting defensive player as a green. So it's not like they're one of these teams that most likely is going to lose a number of players or have to replace a whole bunch on the defensive side of the ball. Now it's complete. You even hopefully have like Malachi Starks taking a jump in his second season on top of this. And we know that Travis Jones just got a contract too. Yet when you go and watch Maxx Crosby, I mean, there's a snap against the Washington Commanders where, you know, he just beats a puller from the opposite end, beats a running back block, and then just dives at a quarterback when he's not even ready. You try to chip him. He works around it. He cuts through it. Even double teams aren't enough to keep Maxx Crosby. His effort is off the charts. And Hayden, like you said, that's even when he's playing 90% of snaps. I mean, across the league, these pass rushers, these interior defensive linemen are often in a snap count. We love to see rotations. Yes, we want to keep you fresh. He is one of the guys that plays 80 to 90% on any given week and can still be that get off the field 4th down player that we talk about consistently, that comes down to 2 or 3 plays in a game, and he can win it for you by forcing your offense back onto the field.
It'll probably be hard to do, but I would like to see the Ravens try to get him into the 80% snaps territory just to kind of prolong him, because he's eaten a lot of snaps. And the elephant in the room is obviously he's coming off of a knee surgery, which was a full repair, which is going to take months to recover from. And they're going to have to iron that out when it comes to just even facilitating this trade. He's 28 years old. Edge rushers kind of slowly kind of falling off, like, but that's closer to like age 30. I think I was like I was like reading other people, and they seem to be like worried that Maxx Crosby was not gonna be able to hold up. He's 28, man. Like, he's got like many more years in his prime, but if they can get that down to 80%, he can like really start to pin his ear back and rush the passer, I think that would be a lot of fun. That would save him some energy for January.
And to be honest, the offensive side of the ball might have more questions heading to this offseason here for the Ravens. I mean, they might have to replace Tyler Linderbaum. We don't know about that contract yet. Obviously, Daniel Falale at right guard was going to be replaceable even when he hits free agency. And then on top of that, it's a new play caller on that end too, with Todd Monken departing and really the whole coaching staff departing. So this is a freaking new and cool way to start off your new tenure here if you're Jesse Minter and the Ravens, and bringing like a new look to your defense, which, by the way, he was the one that like allows these guys to stand up in 2-point stances, rush from different alignments. He's the one that unlocked Odafe Owe last year, along with an aging Khalil Mack. Cannot wait to see what he does with Maxx Crosby. Okay, Raiders fans also will want to see what they get for the best player on their franchise for really like the last decade. First pick, we know what it is. Hayden, when you think through it, where might the Raiders go with the 14th overall?
Well, I think I want to applaud the Raiders. This was the right decision. I think this is a win-win for both sides, just because they're so far away from competing. And let's say we give Maxx Crosby 3 solid years remaining, it's going to take a long time for the Raiders to get to a spot where they're actually competing, even in their own division, which is obviously really stacked out there. So I'm looking at the 14th overall pick. I was actually just writing up my edge rushers reports. I don't think that Reuben Bain or Bailey or one of those guys are going to come down their way. I don't think there's a defensive tackle. So I think the defensive line at 14th overall, there's like really not somebody that stands out to me in that range. So I do think it's going to be winning more in the second round or in future years, or in the veteran market a little bit. I don't see somebody directly at 14th overall to fix the defensive line problem. But good news, they got holes to fill on offense and a wide receiver, and they got holes in the secondary. So somebody's going to stand out at 14th overall. I just don't think that you're going to find your Maxx Crosby replacement at 14th overall in this draft.
Yeah, when we were doing a mock draft last week, you know, this was kind of a sweet spot for cornerback. It was kind of a sweet spot for offensive lineman. It was a sweet spot for wide receiver. So any of those selections would make sense there at at number 14 overall. And if we look at, the other Vegas Raiders picks here, they also have 36 and 67 and 102 and 117. I mean, 3 4th-round picks on top of this. So you will be seeing the Raiders across your ticker the last week of April a lot, rounds 1 through rounds 4. And that roster certainly needs it. That is for sure.
It's a team built for the NFL draft. It's a mock draft franchise. That's where a lot of their hope is every year.
Any closing thoughts here? I mean, when we went through the top 10 free agents at every single position, I actually was a little surprised at how good the edge rushing group was. And that's even before maybe we add someone like Rashawn Gary to that, depending on if he's hacked again or not over on his Instagram. We just mentioned the Cowboys. We mentioned the Jaguars being in on this conversation. So those are 2 teams along with many, many others that are looking to add in this edge group as we move forward.
I do think it's not free agency, but I do think the 2 biggest names, it was Kyler Murray and then it was Maxx Crosby and then kind of everyone else, the Trey Hendrickson. So I think if you couldn't get Maxx Crosby, everyone says, okay, let's go to see if we can get Trey Hendrickson or Jalen Phillips. I think those are the 2 players that, the Jaguars, the Cowboys, amongst others. It's those 2 guys are the top edge rushers in the class right now.
All right. As you can tell, even on Friday night at 9:45 p.m., we have instant reaction videos to big time trades and then free agency signings next week when they go down. So if you enjoyed this video, definitely hit that subscribe button. Join us whenever one of these big franchise altering moves go down, and we'll check in the next one. See ya.